first emotionally to Damian Lillard re-signing with the Portland Trailblazers on a 3-year deal. It appears to be the full mid-level exception. He's not going to play next season. He is rehabbing, of course, from that Achilles injury he suffered in the playoffs. He has a team option on the 3rd year, a player option. He also has a no-trade clause. But my first reaction to the news was just, how cool is this? How neat it is to see a franchise legend, one of the greatest Blazers, if not the greatest Blazer of all time, get to go back there. What's your thoughts on the top when you saw this news, Legs?
I think 2 things. So at the same time, I was having thoughts simultaneously. The first is, it's kind of a shame, right? It didn't work out in Milwaukee. I mean, they didn't have the kind of success they were hoping to, and it really was about the injuries, because even a year ago, their injuries really didn't allow them to be competitive in the Indiana series, and their season ended. And it took a while for Lillard and Antetokounmpo to even find their rhythm. I'm not sure they ever truly felt totally comfortable. It's certainly Lillard playing alongside Giannis, and I said from the beginning, I think part of that was because it was the first time in his life, probably since the first time he ever picked up a basketball, he wasn't the best player on his own team. And I think that makes it a little bit difficult for guys, right? You're trying to figure out when to be the alpha, when to defer. That's a long shadow that Giannis cast. So I think it was sort of rough sledding, and they certainly had their moments. Like, they had their nights when they both played great. Nights when Giannis was out, Lillard looked like himself back in Portland. But overall, the totality of the 2 years, it just never came close to living up to what we thought it could be. So in some ways, a little bit sad that we didn't get to see that, and unfortunate for the Bucks that it didn't work out for them. And of course, now they're eating, this contract and giving him a huge check. So that was the one part of it. Felt bad for the Bucks, truthfully, and for Lillard and Giannis that it didn't work out. But on the other side, I'm thinking to myself, there are certain players you just identify so much with one franchise, and Lillard was a Portland Trailblazer all those years, and people kept wondering, when are you going to leave? And when are you going to go chase a ring and go pair up with other guys on your level and try to win something? And he just stayed year after year, finally succumbed to it, and went in there and said, hey, man, I'm going to go somewhere where I have a better chance to win. He did it. But we still identified him, I think, as a Portland Trailblazer. It was hard to really reconcile him being a Buck. He's a Blazer. So he's going back there. Now, what's going to be left of Damian Lillard? How much does he have in the tank? How good can he be after this injury at his age? That remains to be seen. But at least he will be in a Blazers uniform, a place where he is revered and adored. And I think, obviously, personally happier in Portland. That's been well documented for a lot of reasons. So he's getting a chance to go back there, and it's not too often we get to see players return to that franchise they were with for more than a decade. Usually once they leave, they're gone for good, and then maybe they bounce around to a few teams. The fact that he's going back, I think all in all is a good story for Lillard, for the Blazers, for the fan base, and he'll get to have that last moment of his career, whenever that is, in a Blazers uniform.
I really like the Blazers roster. It's shaping up in a very interesting way. I heard you guys, on the last episode talking about Hanson Gang, but they've got talent up and down the roster. Obviously, this is a year out, and I think you said it best. Before you can talk about what Portland's going to do with their roster, you have to see what type of Lillard he is as a smaller guard, past 35, coming off pretty much the most serious injury you can have in the NBA. But it does make me think, and it does make me think if, is this a make or break season for Scoot Henderson? Is Drew Holiday somebody they brought in to be the veteran leader? Certainly will be next season. Does this increase the likelihood that perhaps they do actually explore him? Potentially somebody that they move on from here in a year. What's nice about the Blazers is that, this is just a great story. It's great to have him around for the next season. And you've got a year to figure it out. You've got a long runway, a long leash, another year of development for these young guys that are promising, but they're not quite there yet.
No, that's exactly how they're going to treat it. And look, there's no way Lillard's playing next year. So you're talking about having really a year and a half to recover from this by the time he sees the court again. And you're going to see other guys in the same boat. Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, like the timing of their injuries as well. Being that late in the year, certainly unfortunate, obviously, in Game 7 of the finals for Tyrese Halliburton, but even for Tatum, in the Knicks series, the timing's terrible because your season is pretty much derailed at that point. In the case of the Pacers, you're one game from winning a title. So that's obviously the tragic news. The good news is, like, they're going to, because of the timing of it, you're not tempted really to even think about bringing those guys back. Give them that whole following offseason. So now you've got a year and a half. The same case for Lillard. They do have an interesting set of pieces there now in Portland, and they're going to get an opportunity to see. Can Scoot Henderson make the leap to an efficient player? I don't know. I loved him coming out in terms of his talent, his explosive athletic ability, particularly in the open floor. He's got to be a more efficient player. I mean, you can't consistently shoot 40% from the field. Like, as a smaller guard, you've got to figure out a way to be more efficient. Or if you're not going to be, you certainly have to be better as a playmaker and a ball security guy. You'll make plays at a higher level and cut down the turnovers at the same time. It's one or the other. If you can do both, now you're an all-star. So let's see what happens with him. Drew Holiday, I don't know if they bring him in if they knew that this Lillard situation was going to happen. But regardless, you've got a year to sift through the pieces you already have. Shaedon Sharpe is an electrifying talent that will be there when Lillard eventually gets back. So good news is, I think the expectation levels for this team are going to be sort of tepid next year. They had a very good second half of the year, that led to Chauncey getting an extension. And so, you look at their young pieces, I don't think they're necessarily a playoff team. They might be in the hunt for the play-in next year, sort of in that mix. 35 wins and up, you're probably going to be in the mix for that. The Blazers will be somewhere in that 7 to 10 to 11, 12 range, somewhere in there. The following year, we're going to see what Lillard has in the tank. And by then, Sharpe will have another year under his belt to see if he could turn into and hit his ceiling, that perennial all-star caliber player. So it will be an interesting year next year in Portland as they wait for Lillard to come back.
They closed the year really well. I'm excited to watch them next season. So stretch and wave used to be something where teams would mostly use it to take a $9 million and turn it into a $3 million cap hit over 3 years. Bradley Beal also got stretched and waived. A lot of money. He paid back a little bit to the Phoenix Suns. We've kind of anticipated this was going to happen. There's a lot of reporting on the fact that it was very likely to happen, but it did happen, and he is going to be, he's joining the Clippers, which I really like. That was the favorite destination of all the destinations when there's a lot of speculation about this. What do you make of it?
Well, look, first of all, Bradley Beal is one of those guys that, and you've seen guys like this over the years. He's talented. I mean, the guy averaged 30 plus in this league, and it wasn't that long ago. So that's there. He can get his own shot. He's a high-level, efficient player. But the question, I think, at this point is Bradley Beal a winning player? And I think it's fair to ask because he was the best player on bad teams in Washington for the most part. I mean, when he was there with Wall, they had a little bit of success, but for the most part over the last several years before he went to Phoenix, he was an elite scorer on a bad team. I don't know how much cachet that gives you in the league. So then he goes to Phoenix. He pairs up with Booker and Kevin Durant. And I'm certainly not laying this at the feet of Devin Booker. There's a lot of reasons why that didn't go right, and that's why they're on their third coach in 3 years. So it's the totality. All of those guys have to take ownership in that. A lot of front office changes there as well. So it's been a mess. But Bradley Beal was part of that mess. So now you look at this situation, and he joins the Clippers, a team that was really intriguing a year ago. I think the best thing you can say about them is Kawhi Leonard got through the year healthy. He finished the year healthy. He finished the year playing well in the playoffs and goes into an offseason feeling good for the first time in a long time. That was the best thing to say about their season. They've got Zubac there, who's turned himself into a top-shelf center. James Harden had a renaissance year as more of a playmaker than a scorer. Norman Powell had a career year, although he's not there anymore. So they were really an interesting team. A lot of defensive talent, young talent on the wings. Now you bring in an elite scorer at the NBA level. I want to see, can Bradley Beal contribute at a really high level to a winning team? Team that's actually in the mix and relevant. That's what we want to see from Bradley Beal. This is the best opportunity he's had because it's more than just names on paper like it was in Phoenix. And now can it come together? We didn't know. This team has already done things, and they showed it last year. And I just mentioned a lot of the reasons why. And they're an elite defensive team at times. So he is going into a ready-made formula to win. Now do your part. So that's where I'm at with Bradley Beal. I just want to see it. I know the talent's there, but the track record of doing it in winning situations isn't. So there has to be some skepticism.
You're asking the right questions. I think it is a perfectly fair question to ask about Bradley Beal when you look at his career. What I can tell you for sure, I can give you one definite answer. He was not a winning player making $50 million like he did last season for the Suns. There is no way to pay a player that amount of money and then have the cap flexibility around him to build a winning team. This is why I like this so much more. He is almost certainly going to come off the bench for the Clippers. He is making the taxpayers mid-level, so like very, very reasonable. Obviously, he will be taking home 50, something like 60 million next season. Yes, he's stretching away for 5 years, but teams who stretch and waive still have to pay out the contract in the original terms of the agreement. It's just a cap mechanism. So he's going to be a very wealthy man. But not because of what he's making for the Clippers. I just think this role makes so much more sense. And Norm Powell was awesome last season. Norm Powell was, he had his breakout season, the best year of his career. The question is, like, when you consider the salary, even if Bradley Beal is a slightly worse player, in that salary role and given what the Clippers were able to do around him, this might be, a much better option for the Clippers because they were able to go get a John Collins and still have a Norm Powell-esque player, maybe not quite as good, but a Norm Powell-esque player, and Bradley Beal grabbing him for the taxpayers mid-level, bringing him off the bench. I just really like what they did this offseason.
No, I hear you. My question is, look, one thing about Bradley Beal, he wasn't able to prove in Phoenix that he can do the same type of things he did in Washington when he's not the number one option. That's the part that we have to see, and he won't be the number one option with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard will be. And I know Norman Powell had a great year, and Kawhi missed some time, a good amount of time, came back healthy and finished the year strong. Norman Powell also had a level of toughness to him at the defensive end. And Norman Powell actually established himself in this league as a defender far before he became a guy that was known for getting 20 a night, which he did a year ago. So Bradley Beal has to fill that component at that spot. Are you tough enough? Are you tough enough defensively? Are you competitive enough defensively? And can you be a guy that can go be efficient getting 20 plus a night, which is what Powell did when you're not the number one option? So he's got some things to answer. But look, if you're the Clippers and you lose Powell with the year he had, a career year, this is about as well as you're going to do to replace that offensive ability in Bradley Beal. So let's see if the chemistry works, if the formula works. It was pretty quick the way this played out. I mean, there's the buyout, boom, he's with the Clippers. There was no testing the waters to see who's out there. Talk to a bunch of teams, drag it out for a while. It was like buyout, sign. So this was something going on behind the scenes. They wanted him, he wanted them, and it came together. Let's see if this can bring out the best version of Bradley Beal, which might not be the 30-point version in Washington. Maybe it's the 21-point version as a Clipper where he plays a little bit harder defensively and he's on a team that wins 50 games. That's he could actually help sort of rehabilitate his reputation if he's able to do that, and it remains to be seen. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can because his age and the talent dictate that it should be able to happen.
100% agree. Looking forward to seeing it. Yes or no question for you, Legs. Would you say that this offseason was an indication that contenders around the NBA are sizing up, that they are looking for big men, that they are looking in some cases to